What is going on, Jet fans? Matt O'Leary back with another video. Today I want to get into a wide receiver that is higher on the depth chart, at least for right now, than I think most fans realize. So kind of just wanted to talk through why that is. We'll break all that down. It's a little bit of a quieter time right now in the NFL. In between like the mandatory stuff, you had, well, actually first you had voluntary OTAs, then the mandatory minicamp. Now you get a little bit of a break before training camp starts, but we are so close to football being back. I'm so incredibly amped up about it. I'm sure you guys are too, especially if you're watching Jets content in June. You're a Jets diehard, and wanted to mention that we over at Talkin' Jets have officially announced our group outing for the season. We'll be going to week 4 against the Denver Broncos. If you guys would like to join us, you can get your tickets at talkinjets.com. I will link it as the pinned comment. And tickets are on sale now. It's $275. It gets you a ticket to the game. It gets you on the field after the game. It gets you a tailgate, which has, all food and beer and everything included. It's really a fun time. Tailgate Joe did a great job last year. We were thrilled with that. We had I think 66 people last year. This year, we're going to try to roll deep with 75 folks. So if you want to get in on it right now. Secure your tickets. They're going quick. Okay, so last week was mandatory minicamp, and Robbie Sabo, the owner and one of the writers of Jet X Factor, who covers the team, was in attendance for it. And one of his main takeaways, he was asked about Xavier Gibson, and he listed him as a starter in 11 personnel. And it's not, while some of it, yes, is opinion-based, but it's also based on what Robbie was seeing at these practices. So right now there's no Mike Williams, which is fully expected. No Mike Williams, no Breece Hall. For Mike Williams, he's recovering from the injury that he got. He suffered a torn ACL in week 3 of last season. But with him being out, there's clearly a big gap in talent going from wide receiver 1 and Garrett Wilson to the rest of the crop. And I think many assume, okay, the Jets just drafted Malachi Corley in the 3rd round. He is going to be heavily featured. Allen Lazard was paid to be a number 2 receiver. Unfortunately, he didn't play well last year, but those two guys would be next up in the pecking order. And while I will fully admit I kind of fell into that same trap, thinking, all right, from 1 to 4, at least right now, you would have thought Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams is the number 2, probably Malachi Corley as the number 3, and then Allen Lazard as the number 4. But that's not really the case, because Xavier Gibson has gotten a ton of reps with the number 1s and has looked really good. One of the big things that Sabo noted was his improved route running going into year 1 to year 2. And I think we forget, this is an undrafted free agent. And yeah, he was, I thought, okay last year. He obviously had a huge moment in week 1, the punt return for a touchdown to end it, but there was some up and down play after that, which again is expected for one, not only a rookie, but as an undrafted free agent rookie. There were some nice moments, and there were also some frustrating ones. His hands need to improve. He muffed a couple, a punt and a kickoff return. That is an area of his game that needs to be improved, but his route running has gotten better, and he's been making plays so far at OTAs and training camp. Aaron Rodgers isn't afraid to take the check down, which is why I think the Jets liked Malachi Corley so much, is because of how he can do yards after catch. But that's also Xavier Gibson's strength. He's not, a big wide receiver. He's not going to win on the outside. That's not his game. But he works well over the middle of the field. He does well with the ball in his hands, and a yard after the catch guy is good for Aaron Rodgers. Randall Cobb did fantastic work with Aaron Rodgers for a really long time in the NFL, and we know last offseason when Randall Cobb was here and during the Jets Hard Knocks and their One Jets drives every week and the whole thing, Randall Cobb, was huge on Xavier Gibson. He kind of took him under his wing and really talked him up and really liked what he saw out of the Jets youngster. And Aaron Rodgers felt the same way. And we know how much Aaron Rodgers respects Randall Cobb. We know how close they are. So it would not surprise me in the least if Xavier Gibson, at least for the moment, maybe is a little bit higher on the depth chart than we realize. Last year, he had 21 catches for 229 yards. He also had 8 carries, 68 yards, and a touchdown to go along with his punt and kickoff returns, with the big one, obviously, in week 1 against the Buffalo Bills. So, again, I thought he was okay. I don't think Xavier Gibson was amazing as a rookie. I don't think he was terrible. I thought he was fine. And especially where, you consider where the Jets got him, he probably overachieved to some extent. But another thing we have to remember, and again, I'm not holding this against Malachi Corley, and I'm not even necessarily saying that this is the right approach to take. I'm just bringing up past examples that we've seen from the Jets recently, is this regime tends to bring on rookies much, much more slowly than, maybe some other teams, whether it be, Garrett Wilson a few years ago. It really took him into week 2 to get that bigger workload. He wasn't the number one guy. He wasn't a focal point of the offense in week 1 against Baltimore his rookie season. That just wasn't the case. Sauce Gardner had to win a competition to be a starter that season as well. And it was so obvious that, he was the most talented corner on the team. And again, just because the depth chart is the way that it is in June, that doesn't mean that's going to be the case in August. 2 months from now, maybe Xavier Gibson isn't ahead of Malachi Corley, but from the Jets' past history, they, again, like to take their time with their young players. So while I would love to come out here and predict, as the number 2 receiver, Malachi Corley is going to have 750 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns. I hope that's the case, but I don't think that it is. I think they are going to bring him on slowly. I don't think he hits his stride to the second half of the year, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. That's just the way things usually tend to go, number 1, for young players in the league, and number 2, for the Jets' mindset in the organization. They don't like to rush guys. So I do think, and I agree with what Robbie's saying, I do think there's a chance that Xavier Gibson's higher on the depth chart than we were realizing. So again, we'll see if that carries over in July and August and into the preseason, but I would keep a close eye on where he is. And it's going to be dependent on what you see out of Corley and the health of Mike Williams. But anyway, let me know your thoughts on the subject down below in the comments. Thank you so much for tuning in. Once again, I am Matt O'Leary. I'll catch you next time.